For some time, many in her own Conservative Party have seen her as part of the problem and have wanted her gone. On Wednesday, she said she would resign if her own MPs changed their minds and vote for her divisive Brexit deal. No dates were given, but she promised someone else would lead the next stage of negotiations with the EU. She probably means this summer. Earlier, she continued to promote her twice-defeated deal, which she hopes to table for a third time this week.
We have a deal which cancels our EU membership fee, which stops the EU making our laws, which gives us our own immigration policy, ends the common agricultural policy for good, ends the common fisheries policy for good. Other options don't do that. Other options would lead to delay, to uncertainty, and risk never delivering Brexit.
Her resignation promise will persuade dozens of MPs to back her deal, but the numbers are still too tight. Later, in a serious blow, her allies from the DUP in Northern Ireland signalled they will still vote against it. And the Speaker of the House of Commons said her deal must show some changes for him to allow a third vote. Order. Meanwhile, MPs from all parties went ahead with presenting their own Brexit solutions. 8 separate proposals, everything from leaving without a deal to forming a new customs union with the EU, holding another referendum and cancelling Brexit altogether. But none of the ideas gained a majority. Ones promoting a customs union and a second referendum were close and may be voted on again next week. But those hoping this process would deliver some quick clarity were disappointed.
It is, of course, a very great disappointment that the House has not chosen to find a majority for any proposition. However, those of us who put this proposal forward as a way of proceeding predicted that we would not this evening reach a majority. And indeed, for that very reason, put forward a Business of the House motion designed to allow the House to reconsider these matters on Monday.
So the Brexit saga continues, and Theresa May looks like she'll become the 4th Conservative leader in recent years to be forced out by divisions over Europe. Her promise to resign may not be enough to get her deal over the line, and MPs are struggling to come up with their own solution. Brexit is proving as divisive as ever, and talk of a general election as the best way out of the mess is increasing. Simon McGregor-Wood, TRT World, London.
Well, let's get more on the Brexit battle now with Karel Lannoo, CEO of the Centre for European Policy Studies, who joins us from Brussels. Welcome to the programme, Karel. As we saw in that story, all that Wednesday's votes did was expose the political deadlock that British MPs are still mired in. But do you think this could be a good outcome for Theresa May, who is still trying to push for a deal to leave the European Union?
Of course, it's very difficult to say from here what will exactly happen, but I'm not sure at all that the withdrawal agreement will be approved eventually tomorrow, and that the threats by May that she will step down will help that. I think the country, as you just said, bitterly divided over that issue. I think it may be more likely that the Article 50 is revoked sometime next week, and then that basically the country remains a member, and then they will call for elections, European elections, which will also be national elections, to test the waters on Brexit. So that seems for me now the most likely solution, even if that seems extremely strange. I mean, we certainly see that the country basically has failed, has lost the battle on Brexit, the entire country, and that's the impression which it has given to the rest of the European Union. But they are not agreeing on any way out, whatever it may be. I think the best solution may be in these circumstances to stay, to ask the public again, not probably through a referendum but through general elections, what they think, and then we'll see in the outcome of the vote how that may be. Rather than taking a referendum, it may be better to see it through a vote for national elections and then European elections, and then we'll see what this will mean. But the interesting thing of that will be that it will be a truly, a battle, an election fought on the European issues, not on the national issues, and which is basically the contrary which we will see for European elections and the rest of Europe, because in most of the countries European elections will be about national issues. In Britain it will be about European issues.
Interesting. As much of the world has been focused on the machinations within the British Parliament, but it's also been fascinating to look at the European reaction from Brussels. Can you just describe to us what are EU leaders thinking about this whole process as it drags on?
I think we are confused in Brussels that it's dragging on so long. I think nobody would have expected, even in the month of November of last year, when the withdrawal agreement was approved, that this would last so long, that we're basically one day before the 29th of March, which was the initial final day, that would be in such a complete deadlock. That on top of that, let's say, the impression which the political class of Britain gives to the rest of the EU is of an entire paralysis of all politicians which think more about their own careers rather than the fate of the country. And we see that the country economically is not faring well with this. So they're playing a game with basically the well-being of the whole British nation. But we know, let's say, that the clock is ticking, as we have said already since a very long time, and that, for example, a big problem will be, if there is no agreement in 2 weeks' time, that the EU will have to erect a border between Ireland and Northern Ireland, which will be extremely painful for Ireland, because the EU will not allow that, for example, through Northern Ireland, if there is no agreement, yes, goods which are basically goods from the single market come into the UK without being subject to tariffs, because they are going to a third country.
And now we have these reports that perhaps another meaningful vote on Theresa May's deal may take place on Friday. So we'll see if that does indeed happen. Karel Lannoo in Brussels, thank you so much for your time again.